Radical.
Last time I talked about the Nintendo Switch, I talked about how Nintendo had the option to brick your console if they feel like you're doing any funny business, if you're doing any modding. Hell, maybe they just don't like your face. Nintendo can brick your console for whatever reason they choose. And I don't like that. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people defend Nintendo, but I don't think there's any defense for that. I feel like if you buy, this is personally how I feel, if you buy a product from Nintendo for around $500, you should be able to do whatever the fuck you want to do with that thing. All right? That's how I feel. Not everyone feels that way, but that's exactly how I feel. And Nintendo just has to fucking deal with whatever you're doing. Now, I'm not talking about if you're making videos on YouTube telling other people how exactly to modify your Switch and how to play games for free on. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if you personally, you buy a Switch and in the privacy of your own home, you are just modifying it however you want to mod it. Maybe you're not even modifying it to, run games for free. Maybe you're just doing some mods that have nothing to do with hurting the business of Nintendo. Now, that's the thing they can do. They can brick a Switch after you buy it. But here is something I think equally as disturbing. Equally as disturbing as this. And this is a shocker to a lot of people out there that are hardcore gamers, hardcore collectors, hardcore preservationists. People that have scoffed at the Xbox One and the Series X and the Microsoft systems for forcing people to connect your system to the internet, to even use it, to even play games on it. That's a bad move. I don't like that. I think Microsoft lost its way after the 360 and the original Xbox in forcing people to connect your system to the internet, to have the update, just to be able to use it. That's pretty fucked up. Every gaming console, we're not talking about computers here. I'm not gaming computers. We're talking about gaming consoles. Every handheld, every home console should have a feature, should have a function of using that and being able to play it without connecting to the internet. I personally feel every game that is full priced, every game that you buy in a store, every game should have some kind of offline feature and should not be connected to have connected to the internet. I'm looking at you there, Destiny, games like Destiny. I think every game should have some kind, even if it's minor, even if it's mild, even if it's just bots or something. Every game that you buy should have some kind of offline functionality. Because if they don't, guess what? You're just buying a fucking future coaster. All right? That's what you're buying. Well, if you buy a Nintendo Switch 2, guess what you're buying? You are literally buying a brick. Well, not a little brick, but you know what I mean. You are buying something that you cannot use unless Nintendo tells you with their servers you can use it. You get it? Right? Couple people got it. Somehow a couple people got their hands on a Switch 2. And there's a side story here, which I'm not really going to talk about a lot, but there's this one person that uploaded a Nintendo unboxing, an 8-second unboxing. I think all they did was lift the lid off and just showed the inside of the box. And of course, Webcaspio, or it was Nintendo, but it says Webcapsio claimed the upload. That 8 seconds of lifting a box to show the system, a little bit too much for Nintendo. The dude didn't even turn on the system, I believe. But they are hunting down anything. I'm pretty sure they got to be breaking laws here. Just for an unboxing. So now it's not even the screens. It's just showing a Nintendo system. Damn. So I would say don't, I'm not going to title this that. Don't title anything Switch 2 unboxings. Hell, even if it's your puppy dog, even if it's Spot trying to chase a ball or something, Nintendo might try to copyright strike that. They're going crazy, man. They're going crazy. because, it's just, people know what it looks like. They've actually given this system to places like Eurogamer. There's actually stuff out there. So I don't get why Nintendo's doing that. They just don't want regular average people that have bought the system from them showing it off. They want to control who's showing it off. Like Eurogamer and all these outlets that get the systems, they're playing ball with Nintendo. So that's exactly how they like it. But no, talking about bricks, your lovely, lovely brand new Nintendo Switch 2 that you're excited to get. People talking trash about Xbox. Well, guess what? Turns out you actually cannot play any games on your Switch. You cannot do anything related to playing any video games unless you connect on, I think, June the 5th, 6th, whenever officially this thing becomes available for everybody. There's an update that's only available on that date. So if you have a system in your hands right now and you have a stack of games that you want to play, not gonna happen. You can't play any of those games. And you thought the key card shit was bad. Not every game uses the key cards. I think Cyberpunk, actually the whole game is on the actual media. But you thought that was bad with a percentage of the Switch 2 games being connected to having to download things. But turns out, now and forever, for always, if a Switch is out there and has not been connected to the internet, let's say all these ones that are sealed in the box, people brag about, oh, I'm getting a console. This is a virgin console. This is virginal console. This is a PlayStation 3. This is a Xbox 360. This is a Wii. This is sealed in the box. I'm going to break the seal, and I'm going to be the first person to ever play this. With a lot of collectors, it's pride, basically. They want to be able to say that they're the first person, which I get it. That's kind of cool to be able to say, hey, this is a brand new Nintendo Wii U. I'm playing it for the first time. I'm going to be the only person that actually ever has this until I pass on, and maybe I'll pass this brand new Nintendo Wii or something like that down through the generations. So, Nintendo, who has been seen out of all the people that put out consoles, really three, Microsoft, PlayStation, and Nintendo. Nintendo has always been seen as the most heavy for preservation, right? And I know PlayStation 4 will actually work without you having to connect to the internet. You can set up that system up. And the PlayStation 5 too, I believe. But when it comes to it, there's a lot of games like Overwatch and Destiny that are on the PlayStation 4. So because of that, a lot of people just look at Nintendo as being the most traditional, like the most old school, traditional type console system. To this point, that's been the case. But with the Nintendo Switch 2, and maybe they're doing this because having it be basically bricked before that actual reveal in June, when they actually, make it available for everybody. Maybe they're doing it because they don't want people getting their grubby hands and reviewing this thing before it actually comes out. Or, like I said, they want to control who has it, where it's out just to some outlets. They don't want people actually getting the system, talking about, whether or not it's worth getting one, not worth it, testing the drift maybe with the, with the sticks and whatnot, or doing whatever you would do if actually you were doing a long, in-depth review of the system. They don't want those kind of reviews out there. So who knows why they did this? Almost like who knows why they did the whole raising the price of games up to $80, which, as I and many other people predicted already, it's having the effects because the person that, is head of Gearbox, my last upload I talked about, he's not even coming out and shooting down that the game might be $80. But Nintendo started this. Let's point right there. Nintendo started this. If you start to see all these games being $80, start right Nintendo. And they got to own that shit. So already, with their ability to brick your system, already, with them pricing games now at $80, already, with them taking a very unpopular, the Don Matrick Xbox One check-ins, 24-hour shit and all that, with them basically taking that path, who's to say Nintendo might exactly not be too, they might not be too big to fail. Yeah, they got the Marios and the Zeldas and the Kirbys and all that kind of good stuff, you know. And those games are good. But PlayStation 5 is very popular. PlayStation 5, very popular. Sony's really killing it right now. So if you're Sony and you see that Microsoft is basically walking into the proverbial fork, you know, quit hitting yourself with a damn fork. Did I say fork? Oh shit, not fork, but a rake. Walking into the rake, right? If they're screwing things up, what if Nintendo starts screwing things up? Now, don't get it twisted. You're still going to see a lot of Switch 2 systems sell. When it comes to fanboys, there's Sony ponies, there's Xbox, but nobody, and I mean nobody even gets in the way of how blindly loyal the Nintendo fanboys are. Whatever you call Nintendo fanboys. I have not seen it. I mean, you know, you could say PC Master Racers, but no, I think it's Nintendo. Because you look back and you think of all the amount of shit Nintendo fanboys and fangirls have actually had to deal with, the high prices they're having to pay for Nintendo items. Not just current stuff, but the amount of money they will pay for Nintendo GameCube games. Have you seen the prices of GameCube games? They're that high because people are paying that shit. People are paying. I saw a listing on eBay. Well, no, I think it was like Shop Goodwill. And there was like, I think, 30 or 40 bids on it. And it was 7 or 8 GameCube games. And they were not super rare. And that shit was like over $200 on a bid. There was a bidding war for it. And it wasn't even rare GameCube games. I think there might have even been a sports game in there. Yeah, so Nintendo's just sitting back like, we could do whatever the fuck we want to. At this point, Nintendo, they could tell you to open your mouth and Mario could drop it's a big old meatballs. He could drop them right on your bottom lip and tap you on the head. He could mushroom stomp you. He could give you a mushroom stomping on your forehead and you just be smiling and you would just take it. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you, little Nintendo fanboys?